what's up you guys, this is Rob from Gay Guy Plays, and today on The Snapshot, length definitely matters when we take a look at the Guandao. Now, you can pick up the blueprint to this preposterously pretty pole in the Tenno lab of your clan dojo, but only once you've completed the appropriate research. Just do be aware that it does require Mastery Rank 4 to craft. However, if you cannot wait to wrap your fingers around this long, hard shaft, you can always pick it up in the market, pre-built along with a weapon slot and catalyst for 180 plat. Just do be aware it is also available in the Guandao collection for 345, which also includes the Zakita. Oh my god, I can't remember how to say names of things, but it includes that weapon too, and it's pretty fucking fabulous, so definitely keep that in mind. Now, the Guandao is a slash-based pull-on with some very interesting supplemental stats. Its status chance sits at 4%, critical chance sits at 24, and it's got a 2.2 times critical damage multiplier, which I think is just enough to trigger anyone with even the slightest bit of OCD. However, in addition to its strong critical statistics, it also sports the same long range of the Orthos Prime, allowing you to strike enemies up to 9 meters away when equipped with a max rank prime reach. Now, before we jump into the build, I do have a little bit of a disclaimer. As you can probably tell from its supplemental stats, this thing is purely a crit-based weapon, which means that it has no status to strip off enemy armor. So, kind of putting this up against Billy's, to be 100% honest with you, will be utterly pointless. It can't strip or bypass armor in any way, shape, or form, so it's not gonna be effective like that. Now, as you can probably tell, I've got Ash off to the side, and I will be using him for Seeking Shuriken to strip them down to their bare flesh, which is also why you can also see that I'm going to be using Viral instead of the standard Corrosive, so do be aware of that. But the rest of the build itself is pretty standard: body count, blood rush, organ shatter. I've even tossed in Berserker, and this is kind of like the main primary reason for that is I did have Prime Fury on it to kind of help with the initial animation speed, because that's the #1 thing I hate. I like to have consistency amongst all my weapons, but the attack speed on this thing is so slow that I need that full 75% instead of the whatever percent that Prime Fury gives me. How much is it? 55? No, I need the full-on 75, because this thing, the .833 just hurts my soul so bad, so I need the Zerker on there. There is another variation of this build that will actually use Maiming Strike, and we'll go ahead and show that in a different clip. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, a part of me wants to put Maiming Strike where Organ Shatter is, and that may not be 100% appropriate, but that's where I feel like it kind of belongs. I really want to keep the Primed Reach in. It just feels like it melds with this weapon so well, but I might actually replace Maiming Strike with Primed Reach too. I don't know. It really just depends on the feels. To be honest with you, I'm probably going to stick to my Glaive Prime, but let's go ahead and see how this performs. Alright, so we've got 3 Billies out here, and we're going through and shredding their armor, and as you can see, real quickly, it makes very fast work of anything that does not have any armor. And I know that's kind of a cop-out, and you know, I do admit, to be honest with you, I do feel like it is a bit of a cop-out because of the fact that we are shredding their armor, and you know, it's not really bypassing it. I feel like there's a lot of weapons that could perform really well. But the range on this thing is really where it shines, and as you can see, it can take out multiple enemies at once. So think about this up against the Infested. It's going to do really well against that faction, mainly because of the fact that it has no armor. And potentially, if we go ahead and put this, I'm really not the fondest of the changes that they just made to the Simulacrum. There's a couple things that are nice about it, but this having to reselect every single time is not my favorite. But yeah, as you can see, due to the fact that it's got so much range, it can take out multiple enemies at once. But as you can see here, I didn't strip the armor, so I literally did jack shit to them. You know, it was really tough, as opposed to when you can just kind of like unleash like that on anything that's not armored. So not the greatest for armored targets, but if you get them unarmored, whether it's via, you know, someone that has armor stripping capabilities, a 4-stack of corrosive projection, or maybe you're just not fighting something that's armored, this is gonna be the perfect weapon to go up against them. Alright, now y'all know I had to come in here with the Maiming Strike action, because I know y'all like that, but I'm actually gonna go through it. I'm gonna do a little sliding at first, but look at how quick that got to red crits. I just kind of wanted to demonstrate that. I wanted to give it a hot second. But look at how freaking ridiculous it is. Like, this thing just goes into, like, I think I just, like, slid once and it was, like, red crit territory already. That's kind of how obnoxiously fast it is with the maiming strike attached to it. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any proc abilities, and the fact that this has, like, so much slash damage, you know what I mean? Like, it's a slash base weapon. It's kind of like, oh, like, that would be absolutely fantastic to have. I'm actually just gonna go ahead and, oh, wait, did I miss that one? Oh, I just threw that out into the middle of the wilderness. But as you can see, in like one rotation, basically hitting these three guys, basically they're dead. So it's great. This is gonna be a fantastic weapon against all of those unarmored targets. Just, you know, I just wanted to keep killing billies. I don't know what it is in my bones. I could have pulled out infested creatures. However, Billy was available, so why not? So all in all, the Guandao is an okay weapon, and I kind of like pared it down to okay, mainly because of the fact that, number one, it's a polearm, and polearms kind of have poo-poo stances right now. Like, I'm kind of crossing my fingers that they add like one extra move set to both of the polearm stances because it feels a little bleh. And due to the fact that this thing has like 4% status chance, it's not even like 5%, okay? They had to like even take that down by 1%. Just to, number one, drive your OCD crazy, and number two, match the rest of the weird funky numbers that they put on this thing. That's why I'm just saying it's okay. I mean, a lot of you guys already know out there that there are tons of slide weapons that do very, very well, that have slash procs attached to them and can crit a whole lot. I'm not going to name any names here, but this kind of fits in that same category. The only thing that this has on all of them is that goddamn ribbon and that goddamn gorgeous ass model, because the model on this thing is like by far the best sliding weapon model that we currently have in game. So I mean, we can give a hallelujah for that. That's definitely something that I'm very happy about. And for all of those people who love the Orthos Prime, this is going to be a substitute for it. So maybe you're just sick and tired of looking at the Orthos Prime and you're like, I just need something different to stare at today. And it's a beautiful thing to stare at. It's quite nice. The only thing that you're really missing out on, because I believe the Orthos Prime has 20% crits and 15% status, something along those lines. It's something along those lines that it's just kind of like, it's almost there, but it's not quite. It's faster, but it has a lower base damage. This thing has a higher base damage than the Orthos Prime, but it's considerably slower. So I mean, legitimately, I feel like they're slightly interchangeable, but if you just want to look at something different, now you have the Guandao, and that's pretty much the facts and figures. If you guys want to take a look at some gameplay, we'll jump into that right now. Alright, so I'm definitely a little bit excited about this one because I found a fissure that was interception, and for any of you guys who've been watching the channel long enough, you know that interception is like my favorite mission type ever, and it's actually a corpus interception, which is really cool because I did the thing that I usually don't ever do because I'm a lazy piece of shit, and I've swapped out my elementals, and now I'm actually using a pure toxin build. Just because of the fact that, you know, we're going up against Corpus and we want to make sure. I have kept the Maiming Strike build on because I just recorded the video for it, and I'm like, ooh, I like me some of them red crits. And I know that depending on the calculations, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't quite done the calculations on them yet, whether it's going to be Organ Shatter or it's going to be Maiming Strike that wins out in the end for it. A part of me just feels like doing a little bit of sliding around, especially after I did the footage for the gameplay portion. As you can see, you know the part where I like talk and it's just like gameplay and there's no face. You know, that's like the obviously Rob's reading a script part. And I kind of became enamored with all of like the sliding around that I did and really got into it. And now we have an unarmored faction that we can actually go ahead and use this baby on. I do want to capture this point before I move along, but this is kind of like one of the things that I don't really address on the channel too much. I always, you know, you guys always see me consistently fighting billies, and that's kind of like, you know, ooh, this is our end game challenge, and it's because, you know, the end game is really dictated by how long you can do extended runs at this current point. And a majority of those, or at least if you're trying to measure your dick online, everybody's like, oh, it's gotta be like Orokin, it's gotta be, you know, the tough Grenier factions, anything with armor on it, right? And that's, you know, what I like to measure things for, but we completely ignore the fact that there are, like, other factions in the game that don't use armor at all. Like, we might run into a, what is it called? We might run into a freaking, what is it called? A Bursa every now and then, but that's like once per, like, that's like once or twice at the end of a round. You know, it's never something that's super prevalent. And a lot of people like to say, no, all of the factions have armored units and you want to mod for that. I'm like, listen, I've got a Kavat that can strip the armor off of a single target. If that's the only thing on the goddamn motherfucking battlefield, and it's just one unit that needs to have its armor stripped off, I think I'm cool because my kitty Kavat got it under control. But maybe for all of the janky Sentinel users out there, I know I always give you guys so much shit. Listen, use whatever makes you feel the happiest. If you like to party with a little squish ball, you do that. You do that. Because there are some really cute skins for Sentinels. Putting it on the record right now, I don't hate the Sentinels. I just don't prefer using them over the most adorable kitty in the world. Alright? Okay? Just letting you know right now that the most adorable kitty in the world is always going to win it for me. And they have the ability to shred armor off of single targets. So when we're fighting something like the Corpus, you know what I mean? This is like super duper cake for them. This is fantastic. This is a fantastic weapon against them. You can see I'm just literally just like dashing around. Let's see if I can hit that little drone thing. Can I? No, I don't know if I did. I didn't know if that was me or if that was a kitty cat. But this thing is making mincemeat out of these guys. These are lower levels, admittedly, but because of the fact that we're using Toxin and we've got red crits on this thing is just basically gonna one shot, one kill. All of them. Wow, that was a bad French accent. My French teacher would be appalled. I did 4 years of French, so I should be better than that. It's my Sombra accent is better, and I didn't even take Spanish. No, but yeah, that's kind of like one of the things that we tend to forget is we don't always need to mod specifically for armored units. You know me, I'm lazy though, so I don't really like have to like change through too many things. I think I stated that in the last video. I just want a weapon to work no matter what. But this does work. It just doesn't necessarily work the greatest against armored targets. So, but that doesn't necessarily make it a bad weapon, right? I mean, even at star chart armored targets, it's really good. It only really suffers against like the super high level abilities that we always test it on. So that doesn't necessarily represent the weapon in the worst way. It just means, you know, that this weapon may not be specifically made to take on armored units. And you know what? That's cool. That's cool. There are 2 other factions in the game that don't use armor, right? And there are ways to get around armor. There are lots of ways to get around armor, whether it's abilities or it's, you know, aura mods. There's tons of ways. So armor isn't necessarily as big of a factor as it used to be, especially because I think DE is now becoming a little bit more cognizant of the fact that if they're going to keep armor scaling in-game the way that it is, which I completely support, by the way, so y'all don't get sassy with me because I'm like, hey, as long as we got solutions, I'm cool. And we've been offered a lot of solutions as of late, as you guys saw with the Zocti. I mean, hell, you could combine this with the Zocti and then slide in with all that slash damage, right? So we get the finisher, the stealth multiplier on that, and the Zocti's stripped off enough armor off of those units. So I mean, you know, there's a lot of different combinations that we can go to. I usually don't stay for another round. I usually wouldn't, but a part of me does want to stay just because of the fact that I really like interception. So please hang here with me for a second because of the fact that I don't know, this is just one of those game types that I like a whole freaking lot. So as long as the rest of the team doesn't leave, I'm staying. But yeah, so this weapon though, so it's really good against unarmored units. It's got a lot of range to it, which I was actually glad because I don't think that there are any other polearms within this category that have as much range. I think they're about 2 meters less is what I was seeing, because I think this goes up to 9 and I think some of the other ones only go up to 7 with primed reach on. So it's kind of nice that they've given us an option to get around the Orthos Prime. Not that the Orthos Prime is bad, not that it needed replacing. Like, that thing is still a fucking speed demon and it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's got more status, so you can actually, you know, apply some procs, whether it be I I think its base is 15, so you can still get a decent chunk out of it for either armor shredding and armor bypassing, because I do believe it has a base of slashing. So technically, you know, the Orthos Prime is a little bit more flexible, but then again, it is a Prime, so I guess maybe you should give it up to that. But oh my god, can we talk about this then? What if one day we see it in our future? This is a Tenno weapon. What if we saw a Guandao Prime? Right? I would be so down for that. Would you not? Like, maybe give this thing a little bit of status to kind of help push it through, or maybe give us maybe leave the stats almost like similar, but just give it a shit ton of status to go along with it, because that would make this thing a beast. All of that crit with all of that status, because, you know, sometimes it's not about boosting the base damage. Sometimes it's just about kind of like tweaking some of the stats so it does something cool. So I mean, just adding a little bit of status to this, I mean, we could have a party on our hands. I mean, look at this. This is already nasty as is, but add a little slash proc on top of that. Ooh, toss that on a stealth frame, and what? You got a party. And Guandao Prime would be even more beautified than it is now. Like, look at that shit. Look at that shit. It's gorgeous. If anything, that's like a reason to use this weapon, because of the fact that it is gorgeous. You know, on any mission that isn't necessarily armored, like it's a good time. It's a good time. You get red crits almost like instantaneously. Legitimately, if you're using the Maiming Strike variation of the build. Not that, you know, red crits mean everything, but it's, you know, it's nice to see on the screen. This is a very visual weapon. That's what we've broken this down to. We're like, it's pretty, it gives you red crits, it would make an amazing Prime. I think you know, our visuals approve. And that's got to be like the 50th Harrow chassis blueprint that we've got here, and you guys are probably sick of seeing me slide around. And it's weird because I'm not always into the slide builds. Like, I used the Atarax slide for a while, and that got boring real quick. And maybe it's just because of the fact that this weapon is pretty that I'm like letting it get away with it. Isn't that the story of our lives, though? We allow ourselves to be mistreated by the ones that are the most beautiful. That sounds fucked up, but it's true. Let me pick you up, my friend. Let me get you up here. Wait, you're a rhino. You should be alright, buddy. You shouldn't be down on the ground like that. Regardless, I'm liking this a lot for what it is, and I think that that's the one thing that we need to kind of remember, is sometimes we try to make weapons into more than they are. They're like, well, if it had this, it would be endgame worthy, but we've already got a lot of weapons that, like, you know, we've already got the Legion, we've already got the Orthos Prime, we've already got a lot of really, really powerful weapons, you know, for endgame. So, I mean, this isn't bad to add onto the roster. It's pretty, and it does a cool job, and because of its sickening range, it kind of synergizes with the Zakti pretty well, right? You can go ahead and get in some slide attacks while those enemies are stunned. Get those slide attacks in, get the little maiming damage. The thing that still bothers me about this is the freaking, is the gosh darn, the number stats. That really kind of freaks me out, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, because I'm like, 24? Okay, now the realistic question here for you guys is, what bothers you more? If this was 24, if this was 24% crit chance, or if this was 21, what bothers you more, a 4 or a 1, you guys? 4 or 1? Because I think the 1 would piss me off, not because of the fact that it's like, you know, 3% less crit, but because of the fact that I think 1s bother people a lot when it comes down to that. Like, ugh. Like, what if it was a you know, like not a 1%, but like an 11% crit status chance? I mean, it would be better, but it's just that 1 kind of bugs you. You're like, just take it down to 10 and I'll be okay. Because, and here's the thing. It makes me wonder, though. Because I like to think that DE is thoughtful. They were, I mean, you can tell that they really put some thought into the Zakti. Unless it gets nerfed. But you can tell that they put some thought into it, and that, you know, it's a really interesting weapon that has a lot of cool synergies. So it makes you wonder, if DE was putting that much thought into this weapon set, then why does this have 24% crit, 4% status, and, you know, a 2.2 times multiplier? Why are those numbers relevant? Why couldn't it have just been a 2.5 with, you know, 25% crit? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think Let's just take that one. Let me know what you guys think in the description, not the description, but the comments below, because I'm curious, maybe there's a conspiracy theory with this. Maybe they're sending us a sign as for what the future, you know what the future is going to be? The fucking Prime version of this is going to be 25% crit. And it's going to be a 2.5 times multiplier and a 5% status chance. They're just going to use the Prime to ease all of our OCD feelings. That's what they're going to do. That's their overall DE Illuminati Warframe scam that's going to be happening. But yeah. So share your theories in the comments below. Let me know how you feel about weapons that maybe aren't necessarily geared against armored units. I mean, let me know if you think it's alright. Because, you know, half the factions in the game really don't use armor. And trust me, I've done my research. I know what has armor and what doesn't. Because I did a lot of fighting with people over armor scaling and all of that bukkake bullshit. Alright? I know. I've been watching. So really, those two factions don't necessarily need you to address armor in any way, shape, or form. Well, maybe a little bit. A little bit. But it's never like this massive threat. Regardless, let me know how you feel about that in the comments below. And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your dream daddy. Ooh, yeah, we gonna be playing that soon. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.